Alright, so I'm going to try and show you my RGB setup real quickly, just so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. So right now there's no RGB software running, so it's all synced to the motherboard's BIOS, which is controlling the RGB, and I think that's just default rainbow wave. Okay. Now, I've got the Lian Li fans, and I have the Lian Li strip, which is that right there at the bottom. So those are connected to the Lian Li hub, which is also connected to a 3-pin 5-volt ARGB header on the motherboard. And this strip right here is also connected to the motherboard on that same header using a splitter. So I have a splitter that's going off to that strip and then up to the controller. Now, on the back wall here, you can see where my cables are coming in. You got that the metal bar there, right? So there's an RGB strip on that bar facing out, facing the other direction, which is lighting up the panel on the back. I'll show you that side in a minute. And then down here, right above like the ceiling of the basement, you'll see at the back there's a strip, right? It's not a very long one because there was only so much room that I could, length where I could attach it, so I had to cut it a little bit short. But it kind of goes along the bottom there. Okay. So what I'm going to do real quickly though is turn on some RGB software in a second so that things are a little bit easier to see. I use Open RGB right now. I find it works pretty well. So let's see. Here we are. Let's just change this like Okay, I'm just going to change it all to purple for now, and I'll set the motherboard to green just to separate them. All right, so right now I set it up so that the Lian Li controller is making the fans purple, and the RAM, which is part of just being done with the software. The graphics card that right now that's just default red, I think is what it is, but can be rainbow. I mean, default red if I use the software. I mean, for the particular profile that I'm using, because it's just usually purple and red. But I changed one of the settings just for the sake of the video because I wanted to be able to separate the colors. So even though, not to be confusing, even though this is technically connected to the 3-pin ARGB, it's also connected to the motherboard, but the motherboard is also controlling the 4-pin 12-volt RGB. Okay, so the motherboard is controlling this and also the RGB strips, where the Lian Li fans are just being controlled by that software. All right, now we can go over to the other side here, and you can get a better look at the basement a little bit. I'll try to see if I can squeeze in here. Doing the best I can. I might have to zoom out. I might have to zoom out. All right. So yeah, you can kind of sort of see the strip up at the top. There's one, and it loops out towards the back. So there's one there. There's the one in the basement that I had showed you. And then there's one right behind this panel on that metal bar for the wiring that you had seen. So this is a good thing that this panel is here, because the light would be shining right out, and it wouldn't bounce back and hit, it wouldn't reflect back into the case the same way. Okay, so we can so that black bar that I was talking about is right there. You can see where the cables are coming through. You can get kind of a better view here. Yeah, so right on that back bar there, the cable routing bar, is where I have another strip facing away out towards the back, which is then being bounced back by the back wall panel that I was showing you. All right, so essentially I'm using both ARGB and RGB. The RGB strips are cut to length, and I'm using two different headers on the motherboard. Okay, cool.